Hello my most amazing artists, and welcome back to week 3 of our Pointillism balloons project. So far in this project we have drawn our picture, and last week we should have colored or painted the background. This week we are going to use as a practice week. And what I mean by that is that we are going to practice a few different techniques of pointillism. On our Google Classroom, I have left a page that looks something like this. It'll be blank, of course, but it'll be there for you guys to reference. If you don't have a printer at home, then don't worry. It's definitely not mandatory for you guys to print this out. What you can do is actually just use a blank piece of paper and draw 9 circles on it, and look at this on your computer and just follow the directions under each circle. If you do have a printer, then of course you can go ahead and print this out and use it today. Today I'm going to show you a few different techniques of pointillism and also a few different materials that you can do pointillism in. And you guys can really do pointillism with any material that you have. I'm going to be using tempera paint, but if you don't have paint, you definitely don't need it. You could also use markers. You could do this technique with colored pencils, crayons, anything you guys have at home. If you are painting, you might need a paintbrush. I am going to show you a technique that actually uses Q-tips, which are those little things that you use to clean your ears out. You can actually paint with those too, and they are great for the pointillism technique we are going to learn today. Also, if you're painting, you might need a water cup, possibly a messy mat, something to lay under your work to keep your table nice and clean. And last but not least, you will need a practice paper, whether it's this one or if you're just using a plain piece of paper and draw your own circles on it, both will work. I'm super excited to practice pointillism with you guys, but before we get started, let's go ahead and say our class mantra all together on the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. My mantra: I am positive, I am creative, I am mindful, I am amazing, I am an artist. All right guys, let's go ahead and get started. So I'm going to show you a few different techniques that you can use with our pointillism technique. Let's read some information about this before we get started. Pointillism artists use dots in the 3 primary colors, red, yellow, and blue. To make the secondary colors, orange, green, and violet, artists would put dots in 2 primary colors next to each other. Okay, so if we think about color mixing and how we make certain colors, you can make any color in the whole world with just 3 colors, and those are the 3 primary colors: red, yellow, and blue. To make the secondary colors, you just need the 3 primary colors. So let's see, what is our first secondary color? Orange. What 2 primary colors make orange? Is it red and blue? Is it yellow and blue? How do we make orange? If you said red and yellow, give yourself a pat on the back. Very good. You need red and yellow to make orange. So in our first circle here, and if you can't print this paper out, then you can just draw your circles on another piece of paper. We are going to make orange first, and we just need red and yellow. So we're going to use markers for our first technique here. And for the pointillism, as we know, it is little dots. So to create our orange color, we are going to put red and yellow dots down together. So I am just putting little dots down. I'm going to fill up my whole entire circle with red dots first. The whole point of pointillism is that artists can use just 3 primary colors, red, yellow, and blue. When we put those colors next to each other, the human eye automatically mixes them together to create orange. And that's what George Seurat was trying to do with his paintings. He wanted to use the human eyes to do the color mixing for him. I just put a little layer of red dots. Now I'm going to put a layer of yellow dots. Doing these little dots is making my camera a little bit shaky, so I'm just going to skip this part, but all I'm doing is filling this whole entire circle with yellow dots. As you can see, there's still a lot of white space in this circle, so we're going to try to fill it up with all these little tiny dots. So I'm just going to go back in with my red dots and go back and forth between red and yellow until this whole circle is filled. All right, very good. So I just filled in that whole circle with red and yellow dots, and it creates an orange color. From far away, up close, I can see that it's red and yellow dots, but from far away, our eyes are going to automatically mix those colors and it'll turn orange. Now my sheet is telling me to make yellow orange. Yellow orange is a tertiary color, and it is just a primary color, which is yellow, mixed with a secondary color, which is orange. It's following the directions on my sheet. Use yellow first and then orange. So just like we did over here, we are going to fill these circles with yellow and orange dots. And there is my yellow orange. Now red orange, that's also a tertiary color, because it's the primary color red and the secondary color orange mixed together. So I am just gonna get my red marker and my orange marker, and my instructions are telling me use orange first and then red. So I'm gonna go ahead and fill this circle with orange dots first and then red dots, and I'll be right back to share a new technique with you. So there's our marker technique. You can do that technique with markers, you could do it with crayons, colored pencils, even pens if you have pens, and it's literally just doing little dots over and over and over again to fill up your space. Now, if you are using markers, make sure that you are not pressing down too hard or stabbing your paper with your marker, because then you will ruin the tip of your marker and you won't be able to use it anymore. So always remember to respect your art materials and take care of them. All right, the next technique is with paint, okay? And this is just regular tempera paint, but you can use any kind of paint that you have. If you don't have paint at all, then just stick with the marker or the crayon colored pencil technique that I just showed you. And with this one, we're actually going to use Q-tips. Okay, so with my Q-tip, I am going to go to the next circle, and it is telling me make green using blue and yellow dots. So we know that to make green, which is a secondary color, you need to mix blue and yellow. Those two primary colors, blue and yellow, make green. So in my color painting palette over here, I'm just going to take one end of my Q-tip and I'm going to dip it in some yellow, just like that. And then I'm going to make little dots all throughout my circle here. And if you are using Q-tips, it's smart to just let this end be for your yellow. Then you can flip it over and use the other end for your blue, just like that. And I am just going to keep dotting this until I fill up my whole entire circle. And I'll be right back to show you the next one. The only thing about a Q-tip is that it starts getting a little bit flat on the ends. So if that starts to happen, it's a good idea to just get a new one so that your dots can be nice and precise, or else they start looking a little bit messy like mine started to. So whenever you need to switch out your Q-tips because it's getting too flat or too ruined, then go ahead and do that. Next one, it wants me to make blue-green. That's a tertiary color. Blue is a primary color mixed with a secondary color green, creates a tertiary color blue-green. And to do that, it says to use green first and then blue. So I'm going to take my green, do little dots of green all the way around, and then I'm going to do little dots of blue. Last but not least, to make yellow-green, that tertiary color, use yellow first and then green. for the last technique, it is still with paint, but instead of a Q-tip, we're actually going to use the end of a paintbrush. So if you have a paintbrush, this is a great technique to use. We don't want to use this part because that'll make our dots really, really fat. Use the end of the paintbrush, this side over here. It can be any kind of paintbrush that you have. This one would work too. You could even use the tip of a pencil. That would work as well. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the end of my paintbrush and I'm going to make violet. To make violet, it's telling me use red and blue dots. Take the red and do little dots all throughout my circle here, and then I'll add some blue dots. The only thing about using a paintbrush is that whenever you want to switch your colors, you're going to need to wipe off the end of your paintbrush so that we're not mixing our colors inside of our palette here. Right, next one is red violet. Use red first and then violet. All right, so I'm gonna take some red paint. Ooh, that's too much. Take some red paint, little dots, and then I'll add violet. I'm going to switch to the tip of a pencil because the end of this has a little circle in it and it keeps showing up. So let me try just using a pencil. Oh yeah, I like that a lot more. I'm off on my last one, blue violet. It says use blue first and then violet. And I thought of something while I was using the tip of my pencil and I was like, why don't I try using the eraser of my pencil? So that is what I'm trying out now. This is a new technique I have never tried before, but I thought I would give it a go for you guys. It makes the dots pretty big, which might be a little bit too big for our hot air balloons, but it's still fun to try out new techniques. And there you go. Now we know how to make orange, we know how to make green and violet, those 3 secondary colors, and we learned how to make all of the tertiary colors as well using this cool pointillism technique. We learned how to do it with markers, we learned how to do it with paint and Q-tips. Right? We also use the back of our paintbrush, we use the tip of a pencil, the eraser part of our pencil. There are so many different ways to do pointillism. Today is all about experimenting or just working with whatever materials that you have at home. I hope you guys had a lot of fun practicing pointillism today, and this is really going to help us get ready for next week when we add pointillism to our hot air balloons. I can't wait to see how your practice comes out. I know it's going to be amazing because you guys are amazing. All right, I'll see you guys next time. Bye guys.